So this is Real Talk with Mike Burke, and you've never done a podcast before.
That's right.
And I am not even going to try to say your last name. You've said it to me a few times, but Eric
Vargosko.
Say it again?
Smith. Vargosko.
Vargosko.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is what? Czech Republic.
That's Czech. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
How long you been in the States?
Oh, my whole life. Shit.
It was a long flight. His arms are tired.
He flew over here, what, a couple hours ago?
That's why I was a few minutes late.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So a family over there?
No, but I was just there last week. I was going through Europe and was in Hungary and Budapest and kind of that Slovakia area. So, but I didn't run into relatives.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Do you love to travel?
I do. I was over there more for a purpose, but yeah, my son and I did it last year. We did a Europe trip, and yeah, we love to travel.
So what was the trip about?
So I fly, and I'm actually having an airplane built in Krosno, Poland. Shout out to the guys at Scale Wings.
Scale Wings.
That's right, Scale Wings.
Okay, cool.
They are redoing the P-51 Mustang, and so they're finishing up a Mustang for me, and I was over there the first week just kind of watching, setting up the final paint and the final layout on that.
So explain to me what that is. Like, my son just got his pilot's license. He's 19. He's flying like a little Cherokee. It's basically, I think my truck costs twice as much as this plane. But he's flying it back and forth to see his girlfriend in college, and he's getting his hours. He doesn't have his instruments yet, but very proud of him. And flying is really cool. You've been flying for how long?
2019. Yeah, probably just over 1,000 hours now. I started back in 07, 08, and then world came to an end and decided I had other priorities. But started back up in probably 18, 19, and got my first plane in 20, and moved up to a twin engine, and then wanted something, more on the playful scale.
So what was your first plane?
First was a Cessna 206.
Okay.
And then moved into a Baron, twin engine Baron, and I love flying that, but it's doing the more fun stuff. You get into the Mustang and you feel like you're one with the plane. You got a stick, and the plane flies upside down. It does the aerobatics.
Yeah.
And you're so tight in there. The plane really feels like you're one with the plane.
It's like a sports car plane.
Yeah, the Baron is, the Baron's a little rocket, but it's business. It's, nobody likes when you fly it upside down. Everybody loses their shit. But whenever you're in the
all the people that are not the FAA like it when you fly upside down. The FAA does not like it when you fly upside down.
People just get so frustrated. You're going to play golf, and golf clubs flip upside down, and everybody loses their shit. But no, it's the Baron is awesome for what it is. It's all business. It's quick. It's fast. It's fun. It's reliable. But going out and flying and just being one with the plane, that's what the Mustang does.
So I'm trying to picture this plane. Is there a movie or is there anything this plane has been in that because I'm thinking the Top Gun movie that he was flying a plane at the end.
That's it. That's a Mustang. That's a Mustang.
I did say that, didn't I?
You did.
I
did
said,
say that.
I think that's a Mustang.
That is. That's a P-51 Mustang. Yeah, Tom Cruise's. Yeah.
And what's the 200 miles an hour, 150? 400?
Yeah. Mustang's pretty quick.
No shit, bro.
Yeah.
Do you know how fast that is on a plane?
Yeah.
400 miles an hour.
That's like going 200 miles an hour in a car.
What is it, 400 knots or 400 miles an hour?
It's 400 miles an hour. It's I think a knots to miles per hour is like 1.15.
Because knots is wind speed, right? Or is it?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still, you use it in boats too.
Right.
But miles per hour is 1.15 of a knot. 1 knot is 1.15 miles an hour.
Okay.
Wow.
Impressive.
400 miles an hour. And have you ever flown this plane prior to buying one?
No.
So you just said, fuck it, I'm going to buy this damn thing.
I have.
And they're building it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this company is like a replica company.
When you look at what they've done, they've replicated every rivet. So it's all carbon fiber. They have replicated every rivet, every bolt, everything in this plane. But it has the latest technology. It's got a parachute ballistic rescue system. So when I screw up, not if. When I screw up, you shoot a rocket and the plane falls back to Earth and you get a new rocket.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's pretty neat.
So this plane, how long does it take to build? Probably 2 years?
I think I ordered it in December of 22, so a year and a half.
So, okay, just under 2 years.
Yeah.
Pick the color scheme?
Everything.
Stitching?
Everything, down to the seats. Yeah, the stitching in the leather. I've got a pinup girl on it.
Sorry.
What? No.
Bad joke.
No, I was just saying that's cool.
Yeah.
What about rims? You got like different rims on this thing?
No, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't know, man. I know little about planes.
Yeah.
So did you go with the full mirror effect, kind of like the one that was at the end of Top Gun, or did you paint the whole thing?
So it's all aluminum. Yeah.
Right.
So it's an aluminum paint that they'll use on it, and then I did the front in a yellow. So it's got a yellow nose and yellow tips on the props, and then yellow, and just like the original ones, they use a matte yellow on the top for reflection on the sun, and then the sides are glossy, and then the attack stripes on the wings, the black and white attack stripes, and it has the I don't even know what it is, but kind of that military logo on the top of the left, bottom of the right, and then back at the back of the fuselage. And
That's so cool.
even the original Mustang was the tail was actually fabric. Whenever they originally built those planes, these guys, even with carbon fiber, they build a mold that imitates the fabric. So like the tail I did in a blue color, and it's a matte color, so it looks like the original fabric, and they do a neat job.
You know what, Garrett? Sounds freaking expensive to me.
It's making my car habit sound really cheap.
We're going to switch gears a little bit. This dude right here has got some killer cars. I've only seen a few of them. I'll tell you one thing. After meeting Eric, we started doing some business together probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6. And I gave you a ride home one day, and he was wearing an old, like, 80s rock and roll shirt. And I remember watching Billions, the show Billions on, I can't remember what show, Axelrod. Oh. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm sitting next to fucking Axelrod right now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're actually really cool, approachable. And when you started out in life, you started where? Like, where did you start? Like your high school, college, that kind of thing?
Yeah, grew up in a small town just outside of Pittsburgh, Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And went to high school in Greensburg, Catholic school, Greensburg Central Catholic. Then I went on to college, also in Pennsylvania, Dickinson College. And after college, I thought I was going to be an attorney. I was planning on being an attorney, going on to law school. And I was interning at a law firm, and I was working with a guy, and we were buddies. I was just this young guy, and fortunately a few guys took me under their wings. And this guy had a house. His dad was a developer, and he had a house on Mount Washington. So Pittsburgh's surrounded by 3 rivers, then the old 3 River Stadium, and it sits in a valley. And his dad had built a residential tower up on Mount Washington, and he had a house that sat on Mount Washington next to the inclines. There's 2 inclines in Pittsburgh, and this house was the old sales center for the big tower that his dad had built, and so he decided he wanted to live there. So I worked out a deal. My dad taught me everything to know about construction. That and working for contractors in the summer, but I can frame, I can do electric, I can do plumbing, and I enjoy it. And so I worked out a deal with Chris because I sure as shit couldn't afford to live there. So I got to work and, basically earned rent. And so I'm living in this house where you go upstairs and you're basically first row view of the entire city of Pittsburgh. So that was amazing. And
the girls probably liked it.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Hey, honey, I know we just met at the bar, but I'm going to show you a picture of my view of what I see when I wake up in the morning. Would you like to look at it yourself?
Yeah, it was such a cool house, and it was cool. But what I was getting at was, it seemed like every attorney that was Dickey, McCamey and Chilcote was the law firm, and every attorney there was, what the hell are you doing? Why do you want to be an attorney? And I guess you just kind of think you want to be an attorney. I kind of felt like I'd like to be a litigator if I was to do anything. And but this guy that I was living with, Chris, he was single. He was probably mid-30s, and he had such hot chicks. And fortunately, this hot chick that he was dating was in real estate. And so she told me about, commercial real estate, and, she ultimately got me an interview. But simultaneous with this, my father was a franchisee for a restaurant called the Italian Oven. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I think we had a few down here maybe, but he had the rights to the state of West Virginia. And so I idolized my father, and I'd go with him. He'd be looking for stores, and he probably built a handful of stores, and it was a great concept. It was out of Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and I remember him on this one trip, and we were in, let's say, Morgantown, West Virginia. I think that's where we were. And, he went to the showing, and you go into this retail shopping center, and there's, you just walk into this wide open space, and, I'm just standing around. I'm a college kid, I guess, and in the summer, and, my dad's talking about how many square feet they would need and how many stores and the concept and stuff. And, she was hot. I mean, I remember her being hot, and I just remember her, saying, the rate is this. And I remember my dad, the negotiator he is, saying, well, we only do this or we only do that. And, her basically shrugging her shoulders and saying, well, this is our deal. And so we get in the car, and I'm, we're driving along. I'm like, okay, Dad, what was that? And he's like, well, that's the leasing agent. Well, how's that work? What's she do? And he goes, well, she's responsible for leasing all the spaces in the shopping center. I'm like, well, how's she get paid? What kind of money is she making? He goes, okay, well, she's 5,000 square feet, $20 a foot, $100,000 a year, 10-year deal, $1 million lease, 6%. Should we sign the lease? she'd make $60,000. Well, stop the press. Okay, wait, Dad, this chick's gonna make $60,000 for, and he's like, yeah, I mean, there's probably some split, but I'm like, all she has to do is show spaces, and so then the curiosity sets in, and we probably had a 3 or 4 hour drive back, and like, wait, Dad, who's paying her that kind of money? Well, that's the developer. And I'm like, what is he? What's the story with him? And so he explained that the developer is the guy that goes out and buys the land and, builds the shopping center, builds the whatever buildings, leases it up, and then sells it. And it's like, how the hell does he do that? And I mean, I was hooked at that point. I mean, it just the thought of being a developer sounded sexy.
That sounds sexy to me now.
It just sounded sexy.
Garrett, what do you want to develop, buddy? That just sounds cool, right?
It's wild. My neighbor in LA, he's a very well-known real estate developer, and he's got projects all over the West Coast. He's got Vegas, Santa Barbara, and then several in LA. And he kind of started the exact same way. He was going to go into the family business, and he realized he just wanted to chart his own path. So he took a loan from his dad and began just buying up property. And sure enough, now he put in a bid to own part of the Dodgers. He ran for mayor of LA, and it's wild. But to hear his story,
you can say his name, Garrett. What is his name?
Rick Caruso. And he's just a very, very nice guy, extremely cool, kind, also a car guy, watch guy. Don't know about bourbon, but that's his fault. And I've heard his story, and just to hear the similarities is actually kind of cool.
What was your first building? What was your first development? Like, did you buy a piece of property and say, this is it? Or did you take one and turn it? Tell me the story.
So, I started wanting to be, all of a sudden I wanted to be a developer. So that was that was right out of college. So 21.
Yep.
Yeah. So I identified some areas, because at the time Pittsburgh went through a great redevelopment, and Pittsburgh's an amazing city. And I love everything about growing up in Pittsburgh, but it wasn't happening real estate wise just yet. And so I started looking for areas that were. And Charlotte was kind of neat because the proximity to, it was still 7 hours from there, and from growing up in Pittsburgh, family was still up there. So I came down and, I mean, basically, I don't think that Google was even around then, but I looked up big developers and came down and did interviews. And fortunately, I joined on with Crosland and their commercial division, and best decision I ever made in my life. It was a cool company to work for. It was, it was a cool mentality. It was their office used to be right up here on Scaly Bark, and everybody else all the other developers are in big shiny buildings, and Crosland was just, I remember, whenever I joined there, Mr. Crosland, now this is Mr. Crosland who's since passed away, but he was still coming in.
This is 29 years ago.
Yeah. What is that? Is that right?
Yeah, you're 51.
Holy shit. Wow.
I'm 51. You're 51. That was, you said you were 22 when you started. So,
40, yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Whew.
How long did you work at Crosland?
I was there until 2005.
What'd you do? Like, where was your first job? Your first week on the job at Crosland. What the hell were you doing?
Well,
Getting coffee?
So I was under Jim Merrifield, and Jim was a fantastic mentor. One of the best mentors. And Jim, I started out in leasing, and but I came down there. I was like, Jim, I want to be a developer. I'm your next developer. And okay, kid, go lease this. And I had leasing assignments, but every year in my review, it's like, Jim, I want to be a developer. And I was marketing. Crosland did Exit 25 North Cross. Then they also did Burkedale Village, but North Cross, that 270-acre development, 95, 96, there was a lot of dirt moving, and another developer had bought the northeast quadrant of it, but we were mostly selling off parcels, but there was a little piece of land there on the corner of Holly Point Drive, and I think that was Statesville Road.
Yeah, I know it.
And
the Hickory Tavern?
I don't know where Hickory is now.
It's back behind there. If you take exit 18,
okay,
and take a right,
yeah,
it's right there.
Okay, no, we're up at 25.
Oh, 25. Okay,
we're up at exit 25, yeah. So there was a little piece of land there, and he said, all right, well, put together a pro forma, and let's look at doing a medical office building. So, but I remember, let's rewind a little bit to, my first task. Jim said, okay, you want to be a developer. Crosland had also developed Whitehall, which is where Top Golf is, and that was like 600 or 700 acres over there. And I think one of the first tasks he gave me was, why don't you work on the street lights, for Whitehall Drive. And who you talk about not having a fucking clue what to do. I mean, where do you go get street lights? And so, I left his office, and I don't know how well I did with that task. That might be why I still was leasing for a few years. But
so you got there and you were leasing buildings, like your dad was working with the other leasing agent, and you were getting paid to lease buildings and things
leasing
like that.
And selling land, and just working.
It's almost
on
like real estate where you go, hey, it's a 6%, and then the house gets 3.5%. You were getting like 1.5%, 2%.
Yeah, it was a salary plus bonuses, or probably something like that to start. And I think Jim's mentality and the Crosland mentality early on was, you can make a good living off of the fees, but you create wealth with ownership. And that's
so
true.
You worked with Crosland 6 years, you said?
10 years almost.
10 years, then you moved to what? What was your,
So I went off on my own in 2005, and then we did some projects in South End. We did some lofts.
When you say we?
So there was another partner.
That's cool.
But we kind of did our own projects. And I did some mixed use over there. I was still working on Fat City over in Noda, and just working through some stuff. But
so I'm going to dive in a little bit of that.
Yeah.
The audience doesn't really understand what development is. So when you have a concept, like you said, a medical park or whatever you're going to build, there's a raw piece of land, you buy the land.
Well, rewind beyond, before that, you look at the piece of land and you say, okay, what's the highest and best use? And then let's just say you put it under contract, and ideally you get some due diligence where you can work through and see, is the zoning compatible with what you want to do there? You work with the city and planning, you make sure that the utilities are there, you look at the stormwater, you look at what kind of density you can get. If you're developing in South End, you've got to be sensitive to the neighborhood, the historic South End area. And, so there's a lot of criteria that you've got to go through between, between looking at a piece of land and a building sitting there, especially when you're not out in the middle of nowhere, there's a lot that goes into it. And so, yeah, you ultimately, once you get through your due diligence, you buy the land, you hire the architect, you hire the engineers, you hire the contractor, you build it. And
the biggest question is, where does funding come from?
Yeah, so
I want to go buy a piece of land right now. I've done my homework a little bit. I've hired I guess an architect, or who would go over this land for like the best mixed use. Like if I see a raw piece of property outside of Charlotte and I say, hey, I think about buying this property, and then I go, who do I talk to first about saying what's the best use of this property? Or do you come up with that on your own?
That's a gut. I think that's
a gut feeling.
I think that's a developer's gut.
Okay,
cool.
It's
because
that's the creator.
Yeah, I don't think you go to an architect and say that. I think the architect takes your vision,
okay,
and implements it.
So it's gut instinct first,
to a degree, I believe.
And then you go do some research. Where do you do this research for learning how to see the best use and zoning and all that? Is there a computer that you just log in and say, hey, City of Charlotte?
So to me, I think that was the methodology that Jim was trying to get beat into my head was go do deals, go understand what the market is, and go understand. And then that's going to teach you when you're able to do deals and understand in different markets,
right.
Then you're going to know whenever you've got your own piece of land, you're going to know how to understand the competition,
okay,
what they're doing, what the densities are, what the vacancy rates are, and then you're going to be able to go develop. But you got to understand how to do that research and how to make sure that what you're doing is the highest and best use and will work.
How do you get the money?
So back early on, you looked for investors and, you put together the pro forma. Back, when I was with Crosland was the investor. So you were up on this battleship with all the money in the world to go build whatever you wanted.
Who funded your first deal?
Who funded my first one? That was a utility company out of Pittsburgh.
They funded it?
Well, they were the investor. We were partners on the project.
How do you get the investor? You just call and say, hey.
That was relationships.
Right.
People, I think people still are looking at Charlotte and saying, that's a great place to invest in real estate. And,
right.
You structure the deal. I basically used the structures that I'd learned at Crosland and carried that on my own.
So do you think there's a lot of investors out there, that private equity money, like individuals putting money together, or do they want to use banks or institutions? What's the best right now to go get funding?
Now it's a different time right now. It's even if you were to do something, you were to get a bank, let's just say you had your own equity, you're going and looking at, mid 8s or 9%. And
yeah, it's expensive.
And
money's not cheap anymore.
It's not right now. And, rents have increased, but can I say that they've increased because interest rates have doubled? Do I think that rents have doubled to offset that interest incline? I don't know that they have. And right now it just feels like a pause.
A pause.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit still.
I do. I think it's a pause.
Garrett, you ever see the movie Trading Places?
Of course.
Did you see the movie Trading Places?
Absolutely.
I really love it, man. I'm telling you. There's
Looking
nothing
good, Billy Ray.
There's nothing better than the orange juice when they're on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wait for it. No.
Mm-hmm.
Wait for it. Nope. Not yet.
Now.
Mm-hmm. So I had a real estate friend of mine tell me, he said, the time to buy real estate is when nobody's buying.
Mm-hmm.
Just if nobody's buying at all, like it's just gone crickets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time to start buying.
Yeah, now, what I was talking about was developing.
Sure.
Buying and developing are two different things.
So do you buy real estate and lease it, or do you have a portfolio of like just doing developments, projects? Explain to me a little bit how your business works.
It's a case-by-case basis. I found a little piece of land in Belmont and I built a house. It was just a random house, but it was a fun little project. I did when I had a salon suite company, and I was looking for a location in Blakeney, and I couldn't get into the shopping center, so I found some land that DOT owned right next to the shopping center and ended up buying that and building a shopping center myself. But my goal was just to get a Lenox salons in there, and we did that. And we got Navon in there, and it was a very successful project. But I've done industrial, I've done land, I've done mixed use. I did a lot of mixed use, where you have the retail and the residential up above, and That's fun. It's challenging.
So you said the salon. How long? Tell me a little bit about that business. What was that?
So real estate wise, I say that the world came to an end so 07, 08, and my buddies were opening bars, and I didn't know the first thing about a bar business. I still don't. And but I was trading Bank of America stock, and it was trading like 265. And every once in a while I'd think, okay, you're Gordon Gekko, you just made $100, shit like that. But
you're day trading.
Yeah. What else is there to do?
Yeah, you're bored.
I mean, well, yeah, you're just trying to survive. And I was dating a hairdresser, and I had lunch with her or something like that, and I asked her, "How's your business?" And 08, 09, that was awful.
Oh yeah,
that was awful. And
I was still working in my tent shop over here on Monroe Road in 08, 09, tent and windows, and I remember when I remember having my house, and my tax bill came, and then like things weren't selling, and I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah, well, that was real, and that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything, and. Dating this hairdresser, and I take her to lunch, and I'm like, "How's your business?" She's like, "Fantastic." Well, how's your business? Fantastic. And so basically what the relationship was, in the beauty industry, it's kind of inverse. If you have a bad market where nobody's going on vacation, building a house, buying cars, the woman is going to feel good about herself once a month. She is going to spend that
nails, hair, feet, toes, whatever.
Absolutely. So
once a month. It's like once a week.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
And it's real money.
Yeah. Oh, I got to get my roots colored.
Yeah, it's real.
That's expensive.
Money. So
is that personal experience, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I called my mother. Growing up, my mother owned a big salon in Pittsburgh, and I said, that was just growing up, and it was a beautiful salon, but I remember thinking, wow, she's miserable dealing with hairstylists, and but they were hot. You guys have seen the Hot Crazy scale?
Yeah. Hot and crazy. Love it.
So
they intersect right around hairdresser.
They do, actually.
So I called my mom. I'm like, "Mom, I'm going to open a salon." She's like, "You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that." And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm going to do booth rental." Because booth rental is different. You just collect rent, and you have somebody up front. She's like, "You don't want to do that." She's like, "Tell you what, look at this. There's some salon suite model. There's a company, and I think it was Sola out of where were they? Colorado, I think.
Solo.
Yeah.
Sola Salon.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yep.
Yeah, and they're a franchise, and so I go down to Atlanta and I check one out. I'm like, I can do this, and so. That was it. I went down and I looked at salon suites and, just tried to understand the model, and came back and opened my first one in Ballantyne, and we grew to 8 stores in Charlotte, and 1 store, I think, in Atlanta, and one of the competitors, Salon Loft. So I'd become good friends with the CEO there over the years, and we finally put a deal together, and I sold that in January last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
now there's one project I remember you said you got a golf course out in Belmont or Cramerton. Cramerton. Tell me about that story.
So it was Kramer Mountain. I lived there. I moved out there and built a house in 03, and I think it was about 2012. The course went into bankruptcy, 2012-13. So basically closed the doors, and it was a weird situation, and so. There was probably a group of 6 of us. Some guys had been to the bank and tried to understand what's it take to buy it, but the weeds were 6 foot high in the fairways, and so somehow I got invited to a meeting, and we started talking, and there was a lead investor guy there who was talking to the bank, and he was able to work out a deal with the bank to buy it, and then I worked out a deal with him to buy the clubhouse, and basically this small group of homeowners, put together a business model and recreated the club and called it the Kramer Mountain Club. And I took the clubhouse and I put office condominiums in the top, and then I did some salon suites, and the club took, pro shop and locker rooms, and it, was a nice success. And club has
You still
4 or
have it?
5. I still have a few condos because I condominiumized the building, but basically we developed it and sold it out, and it's a great model. I mean, it really
awesome.
was a successful model.
I mean, think about that, Garrett. I mean, this is ingenious. So when I saw this, I was like, holy shit. So imagine a golf course community, right? Golf court people riding around, got a little bar, got a restaurant. You got the pro shop, you got the driving range, all that shit, right? Because I live on a golf course. And I would love to have a barber shop, even when I had hair, to go next door and get a haircut, right? But also the women could go there and get their hair, nails, and all that kind of shit because they have to drive to the nearest shopping center or wherever they want to go. And then you're renting out room. Like, what other type of places are in there? I know you had a barber shop in there.
There's a barber, and then there's 11 suites in there now, and
What's in there? Coffee
just
shops?
no, it's all hair. 10 stylists and one barber.
Okay, okay. So gotcha.
Now that's just in that. Now we sold a lot. A pharmacy. They took a few thousand feet, and then the club, and then upstairs, we have everything up there. We've got an investment company. You got some guys just with home offices
at the golf course
on the upper level of the building. This is a big 35,000 foot building, and
there's a restaurant at the bottom.
No, the restaurant's over. It's next door. So,
okay, next door. Okay, got it. I know the place. I'm just trying to like visual it.
Yeah, restaurant and the pool are kind of to the right, and then the big clubhouse, which I'm talking about.
Right.
That's what we do.
Then you just rent the space out.
The salon suites are rent. The other spaces, people bought those. So I just condominiumized it and built it for X and sold it for Y. And
what you working on now?
Finishing up, we've got a really neat mixed-use building in Belmont, right on Main Street, Imperial Lofts. Just getting that turned over. There's lofts upstairs and some retail. I've got in Gastonia, they built the new baseball stadium, so I bought a bunch of land around it, on both sides of it. I've got an old shopping center, grocery store, and then on the right I've got an old Coca-Cola building. Then next to that, I have this, there was attached to the Coke building. I detached it, but it's a 20,000 foot garage. And so I took half of that.
For your car collection?
Putting the car collection in half.
Yeah.
And
so explain that to me. How many freaking cars do you have?
42.
You have 42 cars.
What? 42 cars, yeah.
How much insurance do you have on? Tell me. You got your
Haggerty.
It's all Haggerty?
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, I don't get many Christmas cards from the ex-wife, but I do get Christmas cards from Haggerty.
Well, I'm now divorced too, so my ex-wife just thanks me for the check I mail her every month.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 42 cars.
42. Yeah.
Gotcha. So if you were to get rid of 41 cars and keep
that's gonna be a tough
one,
that's a tough one.
the Corolla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one?
It'd probably be the Kia. What would it be?
Yeah, seriously. Like if you were like, shit, I only can keep one.
Yeah. Probably the GT, the new GT.
The new Ford GT?
Yeah.
Awesome. What year is that one?
19.
Okay.
19.
And you got it cheap because they went up for a while and then they've come down.
I cut it down. I don't think I cut bottom, but I cut
How many miles are on it?
620.
What color is it?
It's the blue with white.
So blue with white, and it's a 19. And I know they were selling sticker for around 600, and they started to get about 1.2.
Yep.
And you probably got this one for the 8-9 range.
Yeah, in there.
Yeah. See, I know my cars.
Yeah.
At least I know some of them.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know that, I've done like 10 Ford GTs, so I know that market pretty good.
Yeah.
So I aspire to have that kind of range of cars at some point, and it becomes troublesome driving them all the time.
Yeah.
What's the one car that you look at, you'd be like, I gotta drive that at some point?
Yeah, you walk in there and go, holy shit, that one hasn't been cranked in 8 months.
You love it, but it is the one car that you're just like,
Maybe like a 65
and you
Corvette
keep
or
passing
something.
it.
So Meekum, I guess it was last year or the year before, I bought a 65 Vet.
What did I just say? What the fuck did I just say? Holy shit, I didn't even know that. I just literally guessed because it's a fuck. Oh my God, that's so funny.
65 Vet. Steve Russ did this car. Pretty neat story. I have a 67 Vet, and it's got the original 327 in it. And the guys that did it, they did some neat body stuff to it, but it was a 327, and it wasn't perfect, but it was a fun driver. So went to Meekum. It had to be 22. Went down with a bunch of fun guys, and there was this red 65, and it was perfect. I mean, it was ground up LS3 engine, but looks factory inside. It's perfect. Underneath is as clean as above. And there were two of them, but his was just perfect. And Steve's a neat guy. He actually has the 67 now. He's repainting it. It's black with red, but he's repainting it black, and then the red will be the same red that the 65 is. So when they're next to each other, they'll tie together. And but Steve, so you start bidding on this car, and it kept going. It kept going a lot higher than I thought it was going to go.
250.
It kept going. Kept going.
In my mind, I had about 250.
Everybody has that number that they are like, okay, that number always seems to shimmy. If it's something that you really want, that number always shimmies. Oh, another 10% won't kill me.
Well, it got so stupid, and I'm sitting next to my buddy Rick, best friend in the world, and I'm saying, where do you think it's going to go? And it would, how Meekum is, it goes back and forth, and you kind of wait and think, okay, this is finally it. And I'm looking at him, because I kind of thought 252, and that's what the seller thought too, and it just kept going. And after it really starts to keep going, well, then the camera's right there looking at you, waiting to see it.
You were on camera, huh?
Oh yeah.
This is the schmuck. Yeah. This is the schmuck.
And then what everybody on TV saying, what the fuck does he do for a living?
No, they're saying there's the schmuck. That's what they're saying. So it just kept going, and I'm looking at Rick whenever it would kind of disappear for a second. I'm like, it's about done, right? And it's about done. He's like, oh yeah, it's done. It's not done. But anyway, I ended up getting the car, and that's just probably my stubbornness. But I got the car, and neat story. So after you're done, it rolls off the stage, and then it sits in a little area for a second, and then they pull it outside, and you got a few minutes where if you want to see the car, you can. So I'm walking around, and Steve is there, Steve Russ, he's there with his family. So this car was actually his dad's car. He drove it to prom, and
no way.
And I walked around, and I think I'm with my dad and my buddies, and my son was with me and his buddy, and walk around, and Steve's in tears. He's in tears because he couldn't believe the number, and
and you were crying too because you couldn't believe the number.
I couldn't. We were both crying together. It was perfect.
He was crying tears of joy. You were just crying.
It was just a special moment for both of us, both crying, and but Steve didn't know I was the buyer. And I patted his back. I'm like, you got to be happy with that, man. He's like, oh man, I'm so happy. And somebody got a great car. And I'm like, Steve, I bought the car. And he gives me a big hug. His wife gives me a big hug. And it just meant a lot to them. You could tell. And that makes you feel good. He's a good guy. And, he put his heart and soul into that car. And you feel proud of that. And
so 42 cars.
Yeah.
Who keeps them up? Do you have someone that takes care of them?
I just found a guy, because I had to.
You got 42 cars, bro. Like, you got a crane come drive them. Tires are going to dry rot. I mean, do you drive them all, or do you just kind of look at them like?
I have a 90 ZR1 with 23 miles. It was never even dealer prepped.
Do you have any IROC Zs? Because I'm looking for one.
So
I would love to get me an old school IROC.
IROC Z. So I drove, growing up in Greensburg, you did not see Lamborghinis. You did not see.
Same, yeah.
You saw Corvettes.
Yeah.
You might have saw a Porsche 944, but
you see a Roush or a Shelby GT, like not the old Roush Mustangs or whatever.
Yeah, you saw
no, not that one. What's the Saline?
Yeah.
The Saline Mustang, 1987.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would see that stuff. And so I took my dad's accountant's Corvette, 88 or 89 Corvette convertible. Yeah, I didn't care if I had a prom date. I just had the Corvette for a night. And my buddy, he took his dad's IROC, and he's in his prom pictures with black driving gloves on. Neither one of us cared if we had that, but we were just, I grew up a motorhead. My dad's like the first neat car. I mean, I remember the 70s, there was a Ford Fiesta and a yellow Ford Pup, or what were they called?
What?
No, what was the little Ford pickup truck?
It was a little, so you had
the Ranger.
The Ranger, but that came in the 80s.
Yeah, what was before?
You F-100?
No, it was
called something. It was just tiny.
You got to Google it.
Gosh, it's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
No, I should know this.
Courier. It was called a Courier.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Look up
Ford Courier.
70s, but yeah, it was yellow. It was awful. It was freaking awful. And then Mom had a maroon red Fiesta, and then in 1980 we graduated to an Audi 4000.
Oh man, yeah. It was a Courier.
Yeah.
It was based off of the old Fairlanes and the Falcons.
Yeah.
Yes, because it was originally, oh gosh, what's the name of it? A Ranchero, and then it became the Courier.
Yeah. It was tiny. You had just the bench seat. It was just
Yeah.
It was awful. But I mean, it
Just got my car back.
we watched, my buddies and I, we read Car and Driver,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's what we did. We talked about 0 to 60 times.
How many Porsches you got?
I just sold 2. I got 1 right now.
What'd you sell?
I had a turbo 7 turbo and 96 turbo.
993 turbo.
Yeah.
Those things are commanding money now.
Yeah.
That's why he sold it.
Yeah.
So, well, it was the first integration with all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And that's what kept you from, so the previous generation, the G50s, is that right?
Don't know that.
So you had the turbos from the previous generation. I think it was the G50 turbo. Those were called the Widowmakers, and it had long turbo lag, and all of a sudden that back end would come around. So with the 993s was the first integration with all-wheel drive that actually came from the Porsche 959.
Yeah.
And that's how it got in.
There, you can
that was
see
the
a
development
lot
car.
of the 959 in that car. It's
pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. I had the pleasure of working at the Porsche manufacturing plant in Stuttgart.
Oh, really?
I worked there for, what was I there, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, almost?
I think they planned to be there for 10 days, but we left after about 7.
7. Yeah, so I was, so XPEL partnered with Porsche, and when you order a new Porsche, you can get XPEL put on the car, which is the paint protection film.
Mm-hmm.
And they had shipped, was at a conference and talking to one of the ops managers and one of the founders of XPEL. And he was talking to me, and I think he was drinking, probably was. I'm not going to say any names, but he was over there like, Mike, you're good with people and you're fast. He said, can you go over there and coach? And because he saw me, I used to do MMA and coaching, and I do working out and all this kind of shit. And he's over there thinking I can be a drill sergeant to the working staff. He goes, we have 400 cars that need paint protection, and they're doing like 16 a day. And every 400, now next month going to be 500. Next month going to be 600. And he was talking to me, and I don't know what kind of accent, but I'm making it up. But I said, sure, man, I'd love to fucking go to Germany. That'd be awesome, man. No worries. So I fly into Munich. Where go? Munich? When we flew into Munich and then went to Stuttgart, right? Frankfurt. So I flew into Frankfurt and drove on the Autobahn. I kept waiting for this big Autobahn shit, right? I'm thinking I'm going to go 150 miles an hour in a scooter. And no Autobahn. Autobahn just means the fucking road.
That's it.
So I'm overthinking every road.
There are
in
very
Germany.
few sections
There's
of the
only
Autobahn
about a
that don't
10-mile
have a speed
section.
limit.
That's right.
People are so stupid. Like American, I'm dumb. Like I'm over there going, fuck, all the roads in Germany are freaking Autobahn. You can go 150 miles an hour. What the hell?
Yeah.
No, not true.
But isn't it amazing how people move over and how well that road system works?
Oh, it's unbelievable how much flow. The roads don't have much traffic because everybody stays out of everybody's way. If everybody in this country, if you would get $100 tickets for riding in the left lane, we could all get where we wanted to go without any
Kidding?
problem.
We'd get out of debt.
Yeah.
It's insane, man.
Yep.
But yeah, Germany, the way they respect each other, and it's amazing. But I had the pleasure of coaching and training paint protection at the manufacturing plant.
That's cool.
And so I had these Germans. The first day I wanted to quit. Like I literally was there at 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. And they take coffee breaks every hour and cigarette breaks. And we had to limit those breaks if we were going to get more production. But they're all union. So you got to kind of be careful because the state has a lot of rules and regulations on employees over there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just walk up and say, hey, dude, get the fuck to work. Like you can't say that shit. Like you have to be very systematic. And so I couldn't be an American. I had by the end of the week. But anyway, we created teams and I created a competition.
Yeah.
And so just like anything in life, if you create a little bit of competitiveness and then you find the star and you make an example that he's the example that everyone wants to be like.
Yeah.
And now he's the team lead and they're doing about 30 cars a day now.
That's cool.
And so I think after 8 weeks after I left, I got a report that they increased almost double production. And I'm like, man, you just need to fly me everywhere in the It wasn't me. I brought them donuts. I did some team building. Germans just do the German way, and they think their way is always the best, and it's always their line. And, the thing is camaraderie, teamwork, and competitiveness drives excellence for all of us. Mm-hmm. It's just like anything, like liquor companies, you see tequilas are starting to do this and this and this, and they all keep raising the bar, right? Competition raises the bar. Mm-hmm. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what every industry needs is just that friendly competition. Yeah. But that was really cool, and I learned a lot about Porsches, and there are a lot more Porsches out there at the time that people couldn't get allocations for Porsches.
Right.
Because they were there. There was a shit ton, but they were going to other countries. So I started learning. I'm like, oh, so these are going to Japan. These are going here, and these are going here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So you start really seeing the global distribution of Porsche, and you're like, holy cow! Now I know why America only gets a fraction of the cars.
Right.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But 42 cars, man. So what makes you sell a car?
Just timing. I didn't have the 96. I only had that for like 6 months.
I know, but like,
I thought I'd like it a lot more than I did.
okay,
It just
so
wasn't.
it was a girlfriend that you dated, and you were like, oh, she's hot, and then you realize she's not.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Hot,
Yeah.
and then figure out she's
It
not.
wasn't what you expected it to be.
What's on your radar now? You got anything you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the plane to get here. I got about
That's your
30
new-
days. Yeah, I'm waiting for the plane.
Give me a range. You don't have to say exact numbers, but give me a range of a Mustang price points. Like, I'm just curious. I have no clue. Like, I really am naked. Are these 300, 400, 500,000 planes? A little higher?
Yeah.
Like 6, 8?
Yeah. And then you get into redoing the old ones, and
Yep.
then you're in the 2 to 3 million.
No shit. See, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
That's the thing I wanted to hear. So
Yeah.
original, redone. So Tom Cruise's plane probably could be 3 million
Oh yeah.
all day.
Yeah, that's the original Merlin engine and totally rebuilt and stuff. Yeah, that's serious.
So your plane, what engine does it have?
Rotax 916 is
What
what
does
it's
that mean?
called. Just a high performance airplane engine.
Who can service that here?
It's fairly serviceable.
Is it?
I mean, yeah, you'll find that in other, like the extras, planes like that. You'll see it. So
What's a maintenance on something like that? Like, how many hours do you need to like maintenance it?
it'll have an annual each year. So I'll just find an airplane mechanic that does an annual. And part of going over there, I really watched how the plane is built. So, when you look at an airplane, you think, my God, how did they do that? And this is much simpler than, your 737 or your jets or something, but you kind of see, it's not that complicated. You got
Right.
an engine. When you see what holds an airplane engine in at the front, it's like, wow, that's not like a bunch of hollow tubes bolted to the frame, and your son's plane, and it's just the fuselage, and then there's this metal, this metal, whatever you want to call it, and that is basically the connection between the fuselage and the engine itself, and it's pretty simple. So when you see a Cessna out there, you look like, hey, even if it nosedive, but inside that metal just collapses, and plane is thin aluminum. And
Is there anyone going to teach you how to fly this, or are you just going to know how to fly it? Is it?
it's a tail dragger. Yeah, that's the rating, the classification. I've had lessons in that. So.
Okay, right on, man.
Yeah.
So I got a project in my mind that I've been trying to create as a developer, because I want to be a developer on this piece of parcel. I have a friend, and I almost bought his building, like 2 months ago? It's like 2 months ago. Yeah, so I was looking at buying a building, and it was a deal I was working out with a friend of mine, and he was buying some other property and trying to do a 1031 and all that, and then I was going to work out a private deal to get the realtors out of it and try to get some equity, and I was going to use it as a corporate headquarters with bays. And this building ended up going, even with me and him, it went probably 50 grand more than he thought it was going to go for.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they developed a mix. It wasn't mixed use. It was almost like they have the front office space of like bathroom, office, conference room. And then in the very back was warehouse space with bay doors.
Flex space.
Yep. And it's an Indian Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And there is 2 6-unit sections. So there's six in the back. So there's 12. And when he first bought these 10, 12, 15 years, about 15 years ago, they were like 120. And they're going for almost 480. And I'm just sitting here looking at this space going, okay, there's only this much property. There's not much of that available in Charlotte and Indian Trail and Monroe, and heating and air conditioning companies need places, electrical, any type of service, mechanical, any type of people that have vans that service, that need warehouse supplies and things like that. There's not much space like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I get some property that I purchase and want to develop this, is that something that you could help me with?
Sure.
Perfect.
Sure. Yeah, we fee develop. We're doing a medical building for a doctor and a business guy in Belmont now, and we fee developed before, but I mean, even that, Mike, I can tell you what to look for. And you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
How many of these stores do you have? 70?
I don't know. One.
Yeah.
But no, the thing is, I want us to start doing some things. Like I sold a building, I think a year and a half ago. I was actually at the Barrett-Jackson auction.
Okay.
I'd never been before.
Right.
And it was in Scottsdale. And I had just listed my building on Albemarle Road. It was an old 50s gas station I bought 10 years ago and renovated it and turned it into a tent shop. And it was a little over an acre and a half near Harris Boulevard, Albemarle Road. Mm-hmm. And it was a successful business. It wasn't anything that was making me a fortune, but I got the building cheap and then turned around and put some money in it, put AC, painted it, made it look nice. And about 7 years later, I had a real estate buddy of mine come by and goes, "Hey, man, you ever thought about selling your building?" I'm like, "No, not really. I'm good." He said, "Man, I got a lot of interest over here. Things are popping." And I was like, "All right." I said, "Do me a favor." I said, "Just, what do you think it'll go for?" Gave me a number. I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "I think that's a good number." And I said, "All right, do a quiet little out there and put it out there for sale, but don't put a for sale sign out there or anything like that." I said, "Just test it." And it was like a week.
Yeah.
So I get to Barrett-Jackson, Expel, who I do a lot of consulting for and do work for. They had a big booth out at Scottsdale. And the sales manager is one of my best friends. He's like, "Hey, bro, I got a Airbnb. We got a house. Come hang out with us. Come work the booth a couple hours and look at some cars." So I registered, never bid on a car before. Finally, put up whatever credit line or whatever I had and said, "Hey, this is a max I want to spend out here." And I got carried away on stage and was on live TV and bid on a car and really wanted it because it was orange. It was a Nova. It was built super cool. And I was just like, probably cost $200,000 to build and sold it for like $125.
Yep.
And I was just like, man, there's no way I could build that car for what it sold for.
Right.
And then I was just like, holy shit, they got 10% fee on top of that. And then I got transportation. And then I'm like, that car would have cost me $140,000. I'm like, I'm good. Like when I started calculating the numbers, and don't drink, because that's why they serve alcohol everywhere at those things, because you don't make good decisions when you're drunk. But I went there and he gave me a call, this real estate guy, and goes, "Hey man, got a lot of action on your building. I got a full ask offer, got 3 of them, blah, blah, blah." I said, "The building's not for sale." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dude, it's been a fucking week." I said, "Building's not for sale." And he goes, "Come on, man." And I go, $25,000 over ask. Whoever wants to pay it can buy it. If not, don't call me back. And I hung up.
Yeah.
He calls me back an hour later. He goes, "They'll take it." I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, and I hit it right at the peak. And it was like right before the interest rates went up. It was right before, it was like maybe not this past January, but the one before. And things were still, but it was slowing down, but it was still hot. And I look at the property now, and I think it went down, but actually it's gone back up.
You look at real estate. Real estate's a stock. I mean, you're just owning that real estate stock for a moment in time.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep. Do you sell most of your property?
It depends. I would say yes. Originally when I was doing a lot of the mixed use in Noda and South End, we just develop it as condos because you'd be sold out by the time it was done. Now, do a lot more, build it, lease it up, and then sell it off as an investment.
That's the way
at a cap rate.
Now.
You do well, and it's.
Do you mostly sell that off to private equity, or does that go to?
It just
holding
depends.
Companies.
Yeah, it just depends on what it is. So I talked about that Blakeney project. That was actually a very well known NASCAR driver that bought that. But
to have it in his portfolio is probably what he
just
did.
a real estate holding. Yeah, it's just you're just from a real estate investor point of view. So you assign a cap rate, basically, and that cap rate is a derivative of the net operating income. And so let's just say he pays a 5% cap rate. Okay, that basically is based on the credit of the tenant. And I sound like a college professor.
I love it. No, this is awesome.
Listen to myself. But anyway, so basically he's paying, and you divide, if you have $300,000 in NOI, you divide it by 5, that's going to give you your sale price. But it's inverse. So that sales price is how much that investor is going to pay to get a 5% return on that money, and that 5% return is the net operating income. So that's how investment real estate works. And, an investor will take a smaller return for a Starbucks because he knows he's going to get paid. If it's mom and pop, restaurant or something, it's going to be an 8%. He'll get a higher rate of return, but he's also got higher risk. You know, they
Right.
could leave tomorrow and
But I mean, right now you can put your money in a bond for 6%.
yeah, you can, but you still look at real estate, and if you buy something at a 5 cap, you still got the depreciation add back.
Right.
You know, you've got most often your leases have 3% escalators
If you're
every year.
young and you're in your mid to late 20s, early 30s, and whoever's listening, we still have some tequila.
Present.
We still have some tequila we need to drink over here, buddy. This is what's it? Tears. This one's right here. It's called Tears. It's really good. But what advice can you give to someone that wants to get into real estate, and where do they start? Like, where's the actual entry level point?
So I did it. I bought it, and I had the background of knowing how to fix stuff up myself. So I kept myself amused, but I bought a house in South Park and basically redid it and sold it. And I think I made 200 grand on it. I took that 200 and went, and that was my down payment on a beach house in Garden City for a rental, and just kept working that up. But, you know, it's not the easiest entry. You know, to just say, okay, I'm going to go buy a shopping center. It doesn't happen that way, but anybody can go buy a fixer-upper. You know, anybody can, and it doesn't have to be in downtown. You know, you can go anywhere, and you figure out how much money you're going to put into it, and then you figure out, okay, I'm going to rent this out, and that's going to be my return on that. It's going to be harder right now because interest rates are higher, but rents are up too. You know,
If you're in like late 20s,
yeah,
buy a fixer upper.
Yeah, so
and
let's
live in it yourself,
yeah,
and then rent 2 of the rooms out to roommates while you're fixing it up, and then within a year, sell it.
Yeah, take it a little further.
Take it a little further. Okay.
Take it a little further. You know, buy that $100,000 house, fix it up, create some value, and then rent it out. And then you can show the bank in a year or two, okay, I rented that out. Let me do that again. And then, you know, you get 2, 3, 4.
So when you say rent it, show the bank, what are you showing the bank? That you have rental income on an investment property?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they look at it like, oh, well, we'll loan you money on another one.
Yeah. You go out and you get that first one, and, you know, you're going to do it for yourself. And maybe you live there for a few years, but then you decide to rent it out. You've got a residential mortgage on it, you know, as long as you continue to service that. You take that, then you go to the next one, and, you know, okay, I'm going to do this. And
if you show the banks you have rental income to offset it, they will give you loans for the next one, or use the equity out of the first one.
A little bit of both. I mean, you know, again, I'm not making this seem like, you know, to list, this isn't easy. But in my mind, creating wealth is real estate ownership. It's all I know. I couldn't tell you about stocks anymore. I couldn't tell you, you know, but I can tell you that, you know, real estate ownership, it has its benefits. And even though we could leave today and we could go down Fairview Road, and that piece of land that has that sign on it forever, it's right at Fairview and whatever the Woodlawn or Park Road, but it's been for sale forever, and I'm sure it has a ridiculous asking price. But whatever it is now, let's just say it's $2 million, $3 million. Fast forward 10 years, it'll be $5 million. You know, it's just a value, you know, a real estate value. It's just a snapshot in time, and it's cyclical, you know. But I think even now, I think we've kind of seen a little bit of a downturn, and I think the Fed has actually acted appropriately.
Do you think rates are going to start coming down a little bit?
I do. There's a banker, I hope he listens to this. There's a banker who owes me a dinner because he said they were going to keep raising last year, and they didn't.
What are they at right now? 6.25?
Prime, isn't prime at 8.5?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't.
What is prime? Prime interest rate. And prime is what the mortgage rates are based off of?
No, mortgage rates are based off 10-year bond.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're
8.5 as of March 7th.
Yeah,
is what prime rate is?
Yeah, that's what prime is.
And what's the mortgage rates right now?
Let's find out.
Probably in the high 6s, low 7s.
That's what I was thinking. Is the high like 6.5 or something?
Yeah.
7s?
7.5.
Yeah.
For a mortgage.
For a 30-year.
30-year. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So 15 years probably.
So when interest rates come down is when probably the best opportunity to probably look to buy, because the money will be cheaper, and then the rentals and, like you said, the amount of income coming in offsets the debt.
Unless there's somebody out there right now that wants to sell that's getting squeezed. You know, maybe there's a better opportunity right now. You know, somebody who's...
Have you ever owner financed a building?
I have not.
No?
I have not.
You just sell it?
Not a bank.
Yep. So what do you do with the money when it comes in? Do you pay taxes on it, or do you try to roll it over to something else?
You know, so if you're... if it's a rental product, if it's a shopping center, something like that, then yeah, you're bringing in the money and it's servicing the debt, paying the property taxes, paying the management, all those things, and then ideally there's some cash thrown off.
Taxes is one thing I didn't realize when I sold my building. I had a pretty good substantial income off of it, and then I didn't buy anything else right away, and then my accountant's like, "You made a lot of money last year, Mike. You owe the government a bunch of money." And I'm like, shit. I was like, all right, let me sell one of my cars. All right.
That's right. That's right.
I did. I sold the 392 Jeep to pay my taxes last year. It's fine. It's no big deal. At least I was fortunate enough to do that.
That's right. That's how you look at it.
It's just one thing, and shuffle game.
That's all it is.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Garrett, you got anything you want to talk about?
So, on social media, because I am a millennial and I'm targeted with all this bullshit. What do you think of these people that invest in Airbnb and VRBO upfits? So they're doing what you're saying, buying something, upfitting it, and then just Airbnb-ing it. Do you think that's more lucrative than finding a long-term renter, or do you think that it's a viable business model? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's viable for sure. I don't know the model well enough to really comment, but it has to be viable. I mean, it's kind of the next step. If it's, it depends on if it's in Charlotte, like Airbnb, I don't get the concept as well as I get it at the beach.
Right.
And I get it at the beach from April through October. And although those numbers look really good April through October,
seasonal for sure,
you got to carry it through 12 months.
Right.
So what's that blended really look like? But it's absolutely a business model.
It's just hilarious to me because you see all these young kids. I'm 23 and I drive a Lamborghini and I got this, I got that. And I'm like, first of all, probably rented. And usually they are.
Well, Instagram is Insta famous and fake book. Fake it till you make it.
Well, and that's what I wanted to talk about is I wanted to see what you thought of that. It's clearly some people do it and they do it as a side hustle, but they don't do it as their primary because it's hard when you're in that.
I mean, the thing I always look at, Garrett, is the guys that are flaunting it don't have it. That's just, I mean, to me, I'm 51 years old. I drive an old pickup. I mean, not an old, but a nice diesel pickup truck. This guy right here, most approachable, nice guy, educated, developer, probably net worth. I don't even fucking want to even ask. But the thing is, he's wearing a freaking, looks like, Dick's sweatshirt.
This is Lululemon. This is Lululemon. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Julian Roush. I gave that poor guy so much shit when we started playing racquetball a few years ago. Yeah. And he'd come in and I'd say, "Is that Lululemon?" And not even gonna say
what's my favorite clothes, bro. I wear Lulu
all the time.
Oh my God!
I literally half my closet is Lululemon.
It's so comfortable.
It fits comfortable.
Yeah.
But I've lost a little bit of weight. I've lost a few inches, and what happens is they have these like stretchy shirts that are nice.
Yeah.
And now there's long on them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck now.
Oh, you hate when they're long. You do.
I know. I need the shorter ones now. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's great. But
no, I think what you said is right, though. I think that I think guys who truly have it, they have no need to flaunt it. I think the guys that want to have it or want to impress or
the thing is I do have a pretty extensive watch collection now, and I was turned on to watches by a really good friend of mine as investments. And you look at cash in the bank and you're like, all right, I got a little cash in the bank. What am I going to do with it? Well, at least I can wear it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when I'm on a plane and I'm traveling and I'm going to nice hotels and all over the place, it becomes a conversation piece. And so I'll be sitting at a bar and I don't have to say a fucking word. And a guy will go, nice AP. And I'm like, oh, you know what the fuck I'm wearing? Oh, shit, that's cool. And the thing is, it turns into, hey, who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? And we spend 45 minutes talking business, building relationships. Next thing you know, he's talking to me about when next time I'm in Boston, come see him. And that kind of thing opens the doors for the type of people that are the movers and shakers that are now doing things. And I felt like early on in my life, I wanted a Rolex. And the reason I wanted a Rolex is because I tinted windows and all the car general managers at every car dealership wore Rolexes. And I said, I just want to be in the fucking club, man. And now, I know this sounds crazy because Garrett's got a bunch of Rolexes, I do too, but I don't even wear a Rolex anymore. Yeah. Like, I won't wear one because to me, a Rolex is a Hondo Accord. Yeah. And so I look at the Hondo Accords and I'm going, everybody's got a Hondo Accord. Nobody knows what the fuck this is I'm wearing, so I'm going to wear that. But
Yeah.
it's just investment pieces. And my buddy's in New York turned me on to a really good jeweler in New York, and he gets them basically from the, I guess the like AP and all the, Ulysse Nardin and all the ones they get that are like the ones that you're supposed to put your name in the hat.
Yeah.
And then they get the name in the hat.
Yeah.
And then they sell me one. But they as used car people, they want you to trade the car back in with them when you're ready to upgrade. So you become exclusive. So it's like, hey, when I'm ready, like you're selling a car.
Yeah.
They're like your broker.
Yep.
And they want to be your like real estate agent, and they're your go-to real estate agent. And that's a whole world of watches I didn't even know existed.
Yep.
And this guy, like, I'll pick up the phone, I'll text him a picture. Hey, dude, I want one of these. He's like, all right, well, what are you trading? What are you getting rid of?
Yeah.
I'm not getting rid of. No. You got to give me one to get one.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. All right. So now it's like a car guy that has cars, and then you go, hey, give me the whatever car, and I'll give you this one.
Yep.
You have anybody like that, like a broker?
You do. I mean, just from buying cars, and it's that's a neat network.
It is.
I mean, it is. It's a fun network, and just all over.
Where would you, if you were buying a cool car and you wanted to buy a car someone built, is Mecum and Barrett? I don't think they're the right places to go, in my opinion, unless you're looking for that. It's really specialty build. Where's the best place? Is it bring a trailer now?
Bring a trailer strong.
That's my porn. I look at it every single day.
8:15.
Every single day.
8:15 a.m.
I'm scrolling and scrolling, and I'm like, oh, man.
Did you see what ends today? What's on there today that ends?
Which one?
959 Comfort.
Oh, yeah.
Silver with maroon leather.
Did you see the one that Nissan bought to develop the GTR? The R32 GTR is now for sale.
No, I didn't see it.
It's green.
Really?
It is beautiful with graphite wheel. Oh,
look at these guys. Bring a trailer. Do you look at it every day?
Oh, 8:15 it comes in.
Right. Yeah. See?
8:15 a.m.
Thursdays they fully load the day too. So it is Thursday's their biggest day. Sunday is just about 10 to 15 cars. Thursdays you end up with about anywhere between 20 and 45.
Oh shit.
So
not that I know this.
What a business model. So it's what is it, 5% up to a certain
up to $2,000 or something like that.
Yeah, but so most you spend is $5,000 on a high-end car, and I'll tell you, I've had one or two that I bought on there that hasn't been what it was supposed to be.
Oh, it wasn't.
And they're really good.
They are excellent. They
and
are fantastic.
What did you do?
Either they refunded the fee or they worked with me to help get the seller to make it right. But they don't.
They don't play around, and then they'll ban the seller. And if somebody buys a car, wins an auction, and they don't pay, and they don't pay in full, they will actually repost the car for free.
Yeah.
And ban the buyer from
ever buying again.
And they don't get their buyer's fee back. Yeah. So the buyer's fee is instant, so that you have a credit card on file.
What's a buyer's fee? How much is that?
So it's usually between 10% all the way up to about a max of about $2,000.
$5,000.
$5,000.
So most you could spend is $5,000. So if you buy a $10 million car, it's $5,000. If you buy $1 million, it's $5,000, and then it goes down as a percentage.
Yep. It's pretty impressive.
It is.
So you compare that with like a Mecum, where I don't know Barrett. I haven't been to one of those, but a Mecum is 10% buyer's fee, 10% seller's fee.
No, Barrett's the same.
Is the same. So you sit there at Mecum and you watch, and you think $100,000 car. Okay, they just paid $20,000. 20. 10 buyer, 10 seller.
That's right.
That's an ATM machine, and it's car after car after car. And
one of the auctions,
and I'm out building buildings.
Only does
no shit, right?
One of the auctions, okay, yeah, because with Mecum, you see them negotiating with the seller, to negotiate their fee, and usually they end up at around 5% to try.
I've never been on the seller
yeah, but
side,
it's just they always negotiate to try and get it down so that they can actually sell it. Usually that's when there's a reserve.
Yes.
If the reserve is not met, they try to negotiate it down so that the buyer can or the seller can get as much as he possibly can.
Barrett doesn't have any car on reserve. They will not bring a car on there.
Correct.
Really?
Every car is no reserve.
Yeah, I haven't been to Barrett yet.
It's cool, man. There's a lot. Scottsdale is probably the go-to one.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to go to that one, let me know. I would love to go.
Yeah.
Again, it was cool.
Yeah, we go to the Kissimmee is the Mecum.
Yeah, it's huge at the beginning of the year.
Where's that at?
In Kissimmee, Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, Florida.
January.
It's
right after the new year.
Biggest auction for Mecum. I mean, they do sometimes between almost $100 million in an auction at that auction.
They set a record
50 and 100
this year.
Yeah.
Palm Beach, Vegas, and Scottsdale seem to be like the bigger ones.
You got Amelia, Pebble.
Yeah.
Those two are huge. Amelia just happened.
Yep. Amelia just happened. Yeah.
And then you got Pebble Beach in August.
Is there any cars on your radar you're looking for?
No, still
Do you like the custom stuff, like the resto mods and all that?
a little. I have a few. I have a few of them. I have a 70 Camaro that was built by a builder. I think he was out of Florida, and it went to Barrett Jackson. And his mother, I believe, had Alzheimer's, so he did a teal stripe on the hood. It's all carbon fiber, and he did a blue stripe for the Alzheimer's Association. Someone bought it at Barrett Jackson, donated the car back to Alzheimer's, and then I bought it from the dealership that was representing the Alzheimer's.
Oh, that's
so I
cool.
bought it the second time around, but all carbon fiber, 70 Camaro with a LSX 1,000 horsepower engine in it.
Jesus.
It's a sexy car.
Do you actually drive?
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the new garage where I've got them now. I've got a lot of lifts and stuff, and
They're hard to get down.
it's like a game of Tetris. And, so, yeah, I'm looking forward to just being able to go in and pull it out.
When are you going
keep
to
it
move
for a
in
day.
all these cars to the new building?
2-3 months, it'll be done.
Really?
So let me know when you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I'm
need
here
some
for you.
drivers. We'll
Yeah.
have some cars for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries.
It's pretty cool. The building actually has, the way the architects designed it, in the front corner of the building, they put glass up on the corner, we'll call it 10 feet up, but it's at the corner of the building. But the idea is I'll have a lift there with a car, so that car will look suspended from the outside.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think we might need to be invited to this.
I'm sure we can probably bribe some tequila or bourbon, whatever.
You guys come out whenever.
Yeah, it'd be cool, man.
Huh.
The most generous guy in the world right here.
Huh.
And that's what I found. I mean, when I met Rick Hendrick, I literally thought the Godfather himself was putting his hands on me. But he knows my name. Been doing business with him for 30 years.
That's great.
And his keys for his cars used to be on his desk on Monroe Road, and I'd go in there and grab them. And Bruton Smith was the same thing. When I knew Bruton, I used to go in his office and grab his keys.
That's awesome.
And I'd sit there and tell stories with him, and I would tint all of his Mercedes because how long you been in Charlotte?
95.
So Beck Mercedes, I had my own window tinting shop inside Beck Mercedes, and it was the only Mercedes dealership in Charlotte. And Skipper was like one of my best friends, and I loved him. And he actually died in a plane crash.
Yeah,
and
serious.
I flew with him.
Yeah,
and he used to call me when he was getting his license. Hey, Burke, you want to go to Myrtle Beach? And I'm going North Myrtle Beach. I have a hamburger. You want to go with me? And I'm like, bro, I gotta fucking work, man. Like I don't have your luxury of after selling the dealership, going and sitting over there at Del Frisco's and hanging out in your little warm toilet seat and your fish tank.
My brother built that outfit for him.
Did he really?
My brother worked with him on that
shit.
fish tank. Yes.
Oh my God! I walked in there and I was like, "What the frick hell is this shit?" And he's got this see-through fish tank, and he was talking so much shit. And the thing is, I'm 6'2", 230 pounds. I didn't have a ton of money back then when I met him, but I did not give a shit who he was, how much crap he talked to me. I told him to go screw off. I don't know how many times. And he put his arm around me. He goes, "I like you. You're my boy." And I'm like, "Why?" Because I'm telling you the truth. Like, And then we just honestly hit it off. I love the guy.
Yeah.
And I miss him. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, you always, like you said, had a mentor in life where you get your, like, piggy bank, or not piggy bank, but the guy that you piggyback off of a little bit.
Yep.
He was my guy.
Yeah.
Like, he introduced me to everybody. And, either you liked him or you didn't like him, everybody knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy treated me with as much respect as anybody.
That's awesome.
And
That's how it should be.
yeah, it is. It was
This is how it
cool.
should be. It's
He saw the
common sense.
hustle in me.
Yeah.
And he just respected my hustle.
Yep.
And I earned his respect. And once you earn somebody's respect that's made it,
That's right.
you always got their respect.
Yep.
And that's what happened.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But that's my story. And Eric, I can't believe you even said yes to come on this podcast. I told Garrett, I said, "Garrett, I got to step my game up a little bit on these podcasts. I got to find some more interesting people." And I've started reaching out to people.
I don't know that I did that, but
You absolutely did.
Definitely helped out a bit, at least.
Yeah. So I was in San Antonio at a conference last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and I had met Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, at SEMA, and him and I had talked and became friends a little bit about cancer because I had cancer, and he's got a friend that just died of skin cancer, and we just we're talking about how we're getting old, and we're not the same people we once were, and he's a genuinely beautiful guy. And I saw him 2 weeks ago, and I started texting him, and I said, "Hey, bro, I need to have you on my podcast." And he goes, "We'll make that happen, no problem." And I was like, "Are you kidding? Hold on, can you say that again?" Like, He's a cool dude.
That's awesome.
And so I'm going to go to his house, or hopefully we set it up, and I'll be in Texas, and then I'm going to drive to him, and I have a mobile set up now. So I'm going to start going to like some cool people and start doing this.
That's awesome.
But I just want to thank you. I don't want to wrap it up. I saw you looking at your watch a couple of times. Usually about an hour 15 minutes. I usually want to wrap it up. Audience loses interest about an hour and a half in, so that's usually my cap space. You want to be a developer and get into real estate. It's a lucrative business, but you got to know somebody and you got to take a chance and
talk to the check.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, but Eric started at Crosland. So the thing is, if you have an interest in getting in real estate and you don't know a lot about it, start somewhere. Like you can be a leasing agent. You don't have to have a realtor's license to do that, or you do?
You do. But
you do.
Yeah, most companies, if they hire you, they'll help you with that.
Start somewhere like that. Learn, get mentored by somebody. Learn the business, and then dabble with some other things.
That's right.
And man, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.